Hello, my name is Elizabeth Bronstein Cartagena. Here with Better Brains for Babies. We're going to focus today on the basic of the brain functions and also on the nurturing positive relationships. I work for K-State Research and Extension, and it is a statewide network of educators sharing unbiased, research-based information and expertise on issues important to Kansas. It has established local, state, regional, national, and international partnerships. So this is a map of Kansas. So we are in all the 105 counties. So find your extension office where you live and see what they offer and ask for any help that you will have with whatever they are teaching. One of the things as a parent is that we have to find ways to help our mental health and use tools and techniques that bring us relaxation. Sometimes we encounter situations that are very stressful as a parent or as a neighbor or as a coworker or anything that driving. We have sometimes stress there, and we want to find a way of using techniques and tools that can bring us peace and relaxation to face what we have in front of us, to be better parents, better person. And so this is one of the things that you can do and nobody knows what you're doing, is doing your breathing. So we have here a balloon that is going to go up. So you're going to breathe in. And then when that balloon stops, you are going to hold your breath. And then when the balloon goes down, you're going to release or to exhale like you are blowing a candle. And we're going to start now. Breathe in. Hold it. Blow your candle. And continue. So a very simple exercise that can help us to be relaxed and help you to be ready for any situation that you have in front of you. So we're going to talk about the brain anatomy. And so we are going to see this slide in every workshop that we do. And it says you can make a difference. You have the ability to make a difference. And as I say all the time, each person has the responsibility to make that difference. You as a mom, as a dad, as a grandpa, as a grandma, as an uncle, an aunt, every individually, we cannot rely in anybody else to make that difference. So in your capacity, you can make a difference in your child. Let's start with the brain analogy. So imagine that a child's brain is like a house that has just been built. The walls are up, the doors are hung. Then you go to the store and buy electric wiring, circuits, switches, and fuse box and other electric supplies. You bring these supplies to your new house and pile them on the floor. Will they work? No. You must first string the wiring and hook up all the connections. This is similar to the way our brains are formed. Here's the other wires, but we have to connect all of them in order to have electricity, or the plumbery have to be connected, many things in order to have what we need. So here we're going to start with the brainstem. It is the first part of the brain that is developed. It's kind of like the foundation of the house. Brainstem is at the base of the skull and controls the most basic automatic functions, such as breathing, heartbeats, maintain normal body temperature, digestive process and elimination, automatic functions like reflexes, blinking, sucking, grasping. Then the cerebellum, the midbrain is in the upper part of the brainstem. Sorry, we're going to start the brainstem, and controls motor activity, appetite, and sleep. Again, that's the brainstem. Then we have the cerebellum is located behind the brainstem, initiate and time involuntary movement, balance, posture, coordinate how muscles work together, regulate strength, stability, range of movement, modify muscles to have smooth and coordinated movement, like the baby is going to roll, then it's going to crawl, then it's going to walk, then it's going to run. So it's refining those movements. So we have, the next one is the limbic system. It's in the central part of the brain. It processes the emotions, perceptions, attachment, and memory. Processes and remembers on an unconscious level even before verbal language. So that means that when the child is not talking yet, they are going to have all those, that part of the brain active, which is unconscious things, memories, and things that we're going to develop. So in the limbic system, we are going to find the amygdala. And one of the things of many, it registers emotions at the unconscious level, learning and emotional memory. A damage in that amygdala, it loses the ability to register fear or register too much fear. Then we have the hippocampus. So they work together. The amygdala and hippocampus work together to record emotions and remember and learn from them. So once that baby is born, he hears a big noise. So that is stored in the hippocampus. And when that comes again, that memory comes back from the first experience. So it's emotional memory processor, emotional memory information, coordinate memory by time, sense of vision and smell. And you can see that when sometimes you have a smell, you're like, oh, that reminds me when I was a child in my grandma's house. Save the memory and retrieve it. You know, sometimes we are just trying to remember a name of somebody, and out of the sudden comes like from nowhere. So that is how the hippocampus, one of the things that it does. For example, remembers like episodic moments, like the first day of school, the first day of moving to a place, all of those things. The basal ganglia is a collection of nuclei that connects with the cerebral cortex to influence voluntary movement and cognitive functions. So the basal ganglia initiates and inhibits voluntary movements involved in initial learning process, and is involved in various cognitive functions such as learning, until a person has mastered the task through repetition, and then it is stored somewhere else, memory and emotions regulation. Like you start riding a bike. So the beginning steps, by repetition, you keep practicing until you get it. So that is the basal ganglia. We have the cortex. The cortex is the top layer of the brain, contains 80% of neurons and regulate complex functions such as decision-making, reasoning, feeling, reason, conscious actions. It is the last part of the brain to begin developing, and it stops developing around 25 years old. It is referred as the gray matter due to its color. So that part of the prefrontal cortex keeps developing until 25, 30 years old, depends on the person. That's why we have to watch and guide our children, our teenagers, because that part is not developed yet. So, and some people say, well, my child is very intelligent, but it is not developed until that time. So we have two hemispheres, the left side and the right side. And the left side is specific details, and the right side is an overall general impression. We also have the corpus callosum, which is the part that divides both hemispheres. So we have 4 lobes: the frontal, the temporal, the parietal, and the occipital. Let's talk about the neurons here, which are the basic brain cells. So 100 billion neurons at birth communicate through electric signals. And the 3 parts are the cell body, the dendrites, and the axon. The cell body, the command center of the neuron, determines whether to send signals to the other neurons. The dendrites bring in information from other neurons, and each neuron has many dendrites that connect to the axon of the other neurons. The axon sends information to the other neurons. Each neuron has one axon with many terminals that connects to the dendrites of the other neurons. It's like you have your hands. So the axon is your arm, and the palm of your hand, it is the axon. I'm sorry, the neuron. And then the dendrites are your fingers. So if you put your hands, the dendrites are going to touch and then bring the information to the cell, and then the axon is your other arm. So part of the neurons, the synapses. They have small gaps between neurons, connect axon to the dendrites of other neurons, and the space where chemicals work in the brain. So you'll see there's a space to pass that information to the other side. So how the neurons communicate? The dendrites receive signals from the other neuron. Look at that diagram there. And the number 2 is showing that cell body tells the neuron to fire. And the third one is the signal travels around through the axon. And number 4, you see there, the signal crosses the synapses, the synapse. And then the fifth one is the dendrites of other neurons receive the signal. That's how we process anything that comes through our senses. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, whatever you taste, whatever you touch, whatever you smell. That's the process of bringing the information to the brain. Remember, you are the one that can make the difference in your child. Now we have sensitive periods in our child development. The brain can change the most during sensitive periods, and we're going to talk about a little bit later. Sensory input is essential to brain development. All the senses are the one that bring in that information to the brain. And changes is more difficult, but not impossible after sensitive periods. It's kind of like the house. If you build the house and later on you say, oh, I want this window in the other wall, or I want to close this wall here, I'm going to put the door in another wall. So you can make all those changes. It just will take time, money, manpower, so it will take more work, but you can do it. It will be easier if it's planned when is the time of building. So here are windows of opportunities, or when is a prime time to absorb new information more easily than other times. So we have here the motor development, we have the emotional control, the vision, the social attachment, the vocabulary, the second language, music. All of those prime times are the brain of the baby. It is ready to grab all the information, and is very easily absorbed. We can do it later, but it will be then more time and more work. It's like learn second language. The babies are born to learn any language. If there's a second language, it's very easy to absorb after that. Like in my case, I learned English when I was 29, 30. So it will be a little bit more difficult, but we can do it. So enrichment for infants and toddlers, it is something that, the ongoing experiences that bring so much information is essential for our children. That is developed appropriately. We are going to bring that information or that experience age appropriate. We're not going to overwhelm them. When the child plays, he's the one in charge. So when we play with kids, we have to follow their ideas. We're not going to impose. And we're going to bring age-appropriate games, so it will be enjoyable and not overwhelming. Negative experiences can damage that moment or that experience of the child. But activities like water play is a great way to help the children develop their fine motors, the hand-eye coordination, the sensory exploration. Nature walks to explore their surrounding, to look for bugs, to collect leaves and look at them, and other things that we can see in nature. Outdoor arts, activities to help the children to develop their creativity, the fine motor, and sensory exploration. There's so many things that we can bring the child, music and movement, play some music and encourage the children to dance, to clap their hands, to move around. You can use cards or ribbons or other materials to create a sensory and movement experience. And so all of that brings a lot of experience that are going to bring that information to the brain like we saw, and it's going to be enriching that experience. We talk about the effect of negative experience a little bit. We mentioned it. So this one's, the experience depends on the amount of exposure, the duration of the exposure, and the time during development. And we're going to have one of the workshop is buffering the brains of toxic stress, because we want to avoid that as much as possible, because that is something, negative experience kind of alter the structure of the brain. And we want that brain to develop in a healthy way, that the brain is in a position that all the information that can come, it is positive and enriching, and that child develops very healthy. And those negative experience, we're going to have that information in one of the workshops of the Better Brains for Babies, for you to avoid and know that how impacts the impact of negative experience in the brain. And we don't want that happen, because that experience goes onto the adulthood, and we want to have our children to be well-rounded in every level, physically, emotionally, and we're going to talk about that in that workshop. Very important, the serve and return interactions, the back and forth interaction between adults and infant or kids, or that goes for life. That connection, when you smile as an adult to a person, you expect the other person to smile, and that is so much. The impact is so much during the childhood. Even that baby is cooing, is trying to have some connection with you, trying to talk to you, but they don't have words yet. So you talk to them like they're having a very good conversation. That child is trying to look at you. You look at the baby, because we need that interaction, the back and forth interaction, to connect with people. It is very essential to the brain development and helps with language and social skills. Everything that we learn at home is what we're going to apply outside. So if the child smile at you or talk to you, and you leave everything for that moment just to focus on what that baby or the child is trying to say or to show, that it is a way of having great connection with you and the child. Like, for example, if you want to say something and you're ignored, even as an adult, but as a child, that you don't have those filters of thinking, okay, as an adult, say, well, they ignore me, I don't talk to them anymore, or wait until they try to connect with me. But as a child, you take it as it is. There's no filter, that affects his self-esteem when he's ignored, that every time that he wants to say something is ignored, or I don't have time to listen now, all those things that sometimes we say, that is impacting the children. That impacts our connection as a parent with a child. So serve and return is essential. And so talking about the serve and return interactions is essential to language and social skills, because that's how we're going to start talking, the way that I'm learning. The social skill, the first circle of friends that I have is my family. And so whatever I learned there is what I'm going to apply with others. Absence causes toxic stress. Like we say, if you're ignored, that start like making some impact on you. or anything that is like, I send them information, I don't have anything in return. So that the brain, remember, is that looking at your face, reading your body language, all of those things are the ones that are building my relationship with other people. Example, making eye contact, giving verbal responses like, wow, yes, talking to them, giving the infant your full attention, touching the infant, not just with the infant, with any kid, any children at any age, using a varied facial express, all of that gives that information, okay? As a child, this will impact a lot. When we're adult, we're saying, okay, maybe that person is not, something's going on. And then you have those filters, but as a child, you receive whatever it is in the moment. So a responsible adult understand the child development, has read the milestone of the child, what my child is doing at 1 year old, or 6 months, or 3 years old, or 5 years old. And so when you read that, this is what usually kids of 5 years old act. And so that gives you the information that you are going to understand that more than that, they cannot handle because the brain is not developed yet. It creates a safe and nurturing environment that child feels that net is the family, and they're going to take care of him. And whenever he try to connect somehow, there is a return. And so he feels safe and controlled and secure. And also protect the development brain from injury, physically and emotionally, because the family is there responding to the need of the child. Talking about safe surrounding, protect the development brain from injury. If you have stairs, block the stairs because the child doesn't know the effects of tumbling down the stairs. You have to protect them. Minimize exposure to environmental toxins, all the detergents of things that be away of out of the reach of the child. Ensure that the environments and materials are safe, and promote interaction and free exploration. So help the child to explore in a place that it is safe, and you are there supervising and helping. One of the things that we're going to talk is attachment is so important. And remember, you are the one making the difference. So bond is something that connects two people. The attachment is a much deeper, more significant lifelong connection, one that is necessary for infants to develop with the important adult in her or his life. So we're going to have an analogy here again for more understanding of what it is attachment. So we're going to, for example, a rock climber. The climbing equipment that the rock climber is, using or wearing itself is the bond. The equipment, when it is used, keeping the rock climber and connected to the mountain, it is attachment. A rock climber will be in great jeopardy if this doesn't have the secure equipment. So, as will the social emotional development of a child with an insecure attachment to the important adults in their lives. So we need that secure equipment or secure attachment. Predictability and support provided during adult-child interaction is the foundation for children development in the trust. It helps the child develop a model for other relationship. Like I said, anything that is learned at home is going to be applied with others. So insecure attachment can cause emotional and behavioral problem. Like, that equipment. If you don't have that equipment that is attached and it is functioning well, you're going to have trouble climbing or going down that mountain, the rock climbing. The quality of the attachment affects the child throughout their life. Secure attachment builds trust that helps feel secure, exploring, and learning. But an unpredictable world forms insecure attachment. The world is unreliable, expect later relationship to be negative, and higher risk of emotional and behavioral challenges. The attachment begins prenatally. Daily interactions shape the child's expectation of her or his responses. The quality of early attachment has a lasting impact on a child's development, and it creates the template for future relationships, like we mentioned before. The development attachments with many, the child can develop attachment with many people. Each attachment is specific for that infant and adult. Early attachments teach what the child to expect in future relationships and establishes the pattern for the way the child connects with people later in life, like we said before. Disrupt attachment can cause problems later in life. If the child has problems developing that attachment when it's a child, sometimes that will affect in relationships later in life because of that relationship with that person, that the child didn't develop that strong connection. Here's a copy of this cycle of needs that I found, and I think it's very important. For example, the need of a child could be he's hungry. And the arousal is how he says, I'm hungry, the cry, because there's no word. And then the parents comes in the gratification, brings the food, and the trust is developed because that caregiver knew about that, have that, took care of that need very quick. And then that is a trust. The quicker that cycle goes, the attachment is, or the trust is stronger. And that happens even for adults. This is something that is for life. You have a need of, maybe you have a flat tire, and then you call a good friend that you have. And the friend says, well, just call somebody else. I don't know how to do that, or I don't have time now. Then you say, wow, I have this need. And I thought that that person will help me. And so next time that happens, something like that, you say, no, I'm not going to call so-and-so because I didn't feel like he really helped me last time. But if you call them and say, hey, give me 10 minutes, I'll be there. Then you're just like, wow, your friendship, your trust gets stronger. So this is something that is from birth through all your life. So consistent and positive early interaction, such as holding, gazing, smiling, kissing, singing, laughing, all of that will organize the brain to expect these kind of positive interactions. Over time, these interactions form wiring in the limbic system for secure attachment. If interactions are negative or inconsistent, such as responding inconsistently, ignoring, yelling, criticizing, or other form of abuse, the brain becomes wired for insecure attachment. Timing is critical, important because the brain is rapidly organizing itself in the first years of life. Models of relationships become more difficult to modify as a child grows older. It's like the house, remodeling the house. Wiring for relationships occur in the limbic system. The amygdala receives integrates emotional information from interaction with the adults. The hippocampus stores the emotional experiences that result from those interactions. So when basic needs are consistently met by a loving, nurturing adult, the amygdala registers the positive memories and the hippocampus store them. Over time, the limbic system becomes wired for secure attachment. When an adult responds to infants experiencing fear or anger with withholding, comforting, and physical touch, the infant learns that she can trust the adult to meet his needs or her needs. Through repeated positive experiences with a caregiver, infants develop a secure attachment to that person. Infants who are securely attached have learned to trust that other person will take care of them. Infants whose experiences with a caregiver are negative or unpredictable are more likely to develop an insecure attachment. Children who are insecurely attached have learned that adults are not reliable and do not trust easily. Children who are securely attached tend to have less extreme reactions to stress, be more willing to try new things, and explore independently, be better problem solvers, and for better relationship with others. Children who are insecurely attached may refuse to interact with others, avoid other people, exaggerate distress, show anger, anxiety, or fear. So it's important to remember that attachment security is not the only factor that affects children's relationship with other people. A variety of other influences, including individual personality differences and cultural norms, also affect a child's process for relating to others, responding to the stress and solving problems, and managing emotions. Positive caregiver-child interaction is crucially to healthy attachment. Even through interactions is a mutual process, adults in an infant life are primarily responsible for shaping the attachment relationship. Children depend upon the adults in their life to provide a consistent, loving environment that promotes healthy attachment. The environment must be predictable and nurturing and must support exploration. In positive caregiver-child interaction, caregivers are emotionally and physically available. Sometimes we are physically, but not emotionally. Then we have to be both. Caregivers are sensitive and responsive to each individual child's need, respond promptly and appropriately, provide opportunities for exploration, gently guide children's behavior, provide a secure base of love and protection. Consistent and positive early interactions such as holding, gazing, smiling, kissing, singing, laughing, cause specific neurochemical activities in the brain. These neurochemical activities lead the organization and wiring of brain systems that are responsible for attachment. The brain's earliest wiring for relationship occurs in the limbic system. The amygdala receives and integrates emotional information that comes in from interaction with caregivers. The hippocampus stores those emotional experiences. Emotional memory stays in the limbic system. Even when infant cannot actively remember or discuss an emotional memory, that memory has ongoing effect on that infant's behavior and development. The brain is amazing, and that's why we have to bring caring and loving interactions, activities and experiences to that child. Children and caregivers may face challenges that affect their development attachment. Some challenges, such as a 2-year-old growing desire for independence, are normal and expected part of the development. If caregivers respond sensitively, these everyday challenges do not have a lasting impact on attachment. Other challenges, such as child abuse, are more serious and can have long-term negative effects on a young child's ability to form attachment. Children need sensitive, ongoing intervention from trained professionals, along with patient and sensitive caregiving, in order to overcome these serious challenges and form secure attachments. Infants' individual characteristics contribute to the developing attachment with the caregiver. Children are not just passive recipients of their parents' caregiving. A child's natural temperament plays a significant role in determining how that child approaches and responds to situations and people. If a child does not easily interact with others because she's reserved or he's reserved or extremely active, caregivers may have more difficulty engaging with that child. So children with chronic health condition or other special needs may require more attention and care, but may not respond positively to a caregiver nurturing. Children's developmental level may also contribute to their developing attachment. Some stages of development are more challenging for adults than others. Caregivers may find it difficult to have positive interaction with a 2-year-old who is demonstrating a desire for more independence. The characteristic of caregivers also contribute to attachment. Children need predictability and support from the caregiver-child relationship in order to build the trust that leads to secure attachment. Caregivers who are depressed or otherwise emotionally or physically unavailable are less able to respond sensitively to children's needs. These children are at higher risk for developing insecure attachments. So caregivers' knowledge of child development and their ability to use that knowledge to provide sensitive care for young children also influences the caregiver-child relationship. More knowledgeable and skilled caregivers are better able to tune in to individual children's social and emotional needs. Some caregivers believe that crying infants are just looking for attention and should not be held because they will be spoiled by the attention. In reality, crying is infants' main tool for expressing their needs and seeking connection with caregivers. Young infants need the security of knowing that a caregiver will respond to their needs every time they cry. A caregiver who responds sensitively and lovingly reassures the child that he is loved and safe, and helps him establish the trust needed to form a secure attachment. Young infants cannot be spoiled by sensitive, responsive caregiving. In talking about trauma and attachment, extremely traumatic experiences, including suffering or witnessing abuse or neglect, interfere with a young children's ability to develop secure attachments. When young children are repeatedly exposed to violent, threatening experiences, the most primitive area of the brain may be overdeveloped. Areas that control positive emotional responses, such as the cerebral cortex and the limbic system, may not develop fully. As a result, children who experience trauma are at higher risk of forming insecure attachments. Caregivers facing challenges to the attachment relationship may feel overwhelmed. Finding educational resources and networks of support can help caregivers and children overcome challenges to secure attachment. And remember, you can make a difference. We close with this quote on attachment. Children are wired to learn from the day-to-day interactions that they have with principal caregivers. It is the social exchanges children have with people who care for them that create the base for learning. You can make the difference. Here is our evaluation. I hope that all that we learn about how the brain works and how the attachment works make more sense to you, and we can see your child with different lens, because that interaction, the serve and return, when that child is looking at you and you look at him, that it is bringing that attachment to be stronger when he asks you something and you respond in a very soft and loving manner. That is building that attachment strong. Even anything that the child is trying to, as a very like a newborn, you know, they are doing things that they're telling you things, information, and when you respond, that is, it's like the equipment that gets stronger and more safe, and that connection gets stronger. And that connection, it is that they have learned how to make those connections, and that relationship between you and the child is what, like we said several times, is the one that it will be. It's a template he was going to apply to other people. And so it is very informational what we learned today. And it is amazing how our brain works. So the more we know, the better we are parents with our children. So please respond to the evaluation. And as soon as you're done, we're going to send you the next workshop. Thank you and have a good day.